Greetings, traveler. I'm Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 10 years now, and something I really struggled with back in the days, how do you do networking as a gamer to find new job openings? I have no idea how that process worked, but through the framework that I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to show you how I found essentially all my job-related gaming positions through networking, except for one that I used a recruiter for, which I don't really recommend doing, by the way, going through a recruiter. So let's jump in and I'll show you exactly how you can do the same. So first of all, we're going to talk about what exactly you do at networking events. What are the activities you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. Then I'm going to give you the exact sentences of how to introduce yourself, even if you're a shy person like I was back in the day. So if you don't know what to say or how to start a conversation, we're going to talk about exactly what to do there. Then we're going to talk about how to check if there's a job opening coming from the information the other person is saying. And last but not least, how to actually get a job interview right from a networking event. I know it may sound like magic at this point, but hang tight. Let's start. So, what do you actually do in networking events? Maybe you're going there with your buddies, maybe you meet someone you know there. That is not the place to have a chat with your buddies and discuss what they did last Saturday or how their weekend is going or how work is going and so on. If it's people you meet regularly and they're at the networking event, this is not the place to catch up with them, certainly not for a long period of time during the event. If you're not a social person like me, you don't have to wait for the event to end. You're not supposed to sit in a corner and just watch some screen until the time is over and then you can go home. That is a huge waste of time. If you don't want to be in the event, you don't have to. But since you're here, there are many cool things to do. Specifically, instead of doing all these things, do go ahead first of all and enjoy any food, any drinks, or even games that are available in the event. This is very important. Sometimes people say, ignore all that, but only try to network. I don't think that's the case. If you're having food, if you're having drinks, if there's games over there and you're playing with people, you're having a good time, you're in a good mood, you're exactly doing what you're supposed to in that event. So go ahead and enjoy these things if they're available. At the networking event, you are there to find job opportunities. This is a huge opportunity because you're also avoiding using recruiters. Recruiters might be able to, depending on the country you're in, introduce new job opportunities to you or introduce new companies and positions. But let's not forget that they have an ulterior motive, right? Their motive is to place you in that company and make money out of the placement. Now, that's not evil or anything, but they have a different motive than you. You want to find the most appropriate, most fun position for yourself. They want to place as many people as quickly as possible to make as much money as possible. So again, nothing evil about that, just slightly different trajectory of objectives. Also, what you really want to do at networking events is make friends that you can maybe work together in the future or even be gaming buddies, hang out, and so on. The cool thing about being in the games industry as a game person is that you have many like-minded people. It's not like many other industries out there where people who join, let's say, the duct tape industry, if that's a thing, it's not necessary that all of them are very passionate about duct tape. Many of them are just looking for a job to do. But the games industry tends to attract highly skilled, very intelligent people who all love games. That's why they're doing that. So this is a good place to find like-minded people that you can play or even work together in the future. So let's talk about specifically what the goal of today's method is. So in order to eventually get the interview out of a conversation you have in this networking event, you have to identify what the other person's team or company or project or situation is missing right now. And then you have to show why you are a good fit. In other words, the core of this strategy is to talk about what the other person is interested in, their team, their project, their troubles, and then allow them to vent about it. And by doing that, they will also reveal to you in a very emergent, I suppose, type of way of how you can help in that situation and why it will become obvious that you are a good person to at least interview for that kind of position, for solving the problem that they have. This is the mindset we have going forward and employing the strategy, so please keep it in mind. Let's jump into the actual strategy. What do you actually say when you're there? So you see somebody who you think is an interesting person, or they're wearing a t-shirt of a game you like, or there's something about them that makes you think that it's a good person to talk to. What do you actually say? Well, you only need 3 sentences, interestingly enough, to introduce yourself. Even if you're shy, you can just use these 3 sentences exactly as they are here. You don't need to do any extra work. You don't need to be super creative. Just say this and the conversation will roll off all on its own. First one. Nice to meet you. I'm, and then say your name. Now you might think, well, why would that other person want to talk to me? I suppose that's true for any other situation in life, but in a networking event, you are supposed to do it. It is an event specifically designed to let people introduce themselves to each other. And in fact, people who go there and people who organize the event have the expectation that people will, well, network. So it's completely fine to just approach a random person and say, hi, nice to meet you, and just tell them your name. If you have a business card available, that is the correct opportunity to do it. It's not the only opportunity to do it. There's other opportunities during the conversation where you can exchange business cards. For example, what I also like to do is if I skip this opportunity to exchange cards, maybe after that person says something interesting or they talk about a specific trouble or problem they're having at work and how I could help, well, let me give you my business card. That's another opportunity to do it. But the easiest is to do it at the beginning, just as you're introducing yourself. If you don't have a business card, that's completely fine. You can just continue with the conversation. If you have a student or freelance or something business card, no problem whatsoever. You can exchange it at this moment. And then you say, what games do you like? So this sentence is what I believe to be the magic sentence in this process, because normally when you see another person, you just don't know what to talk about, right? You don't know if that other person is into games or skydiving or plumbing or whatever. You just don't know. So it's something I struggled with back in the day. How would I initiate a conversation with somebody I don't know if I don't know anything about them? Well, in the games industry or in gaming events, that event itself takes away all the trouble of finding something to talk about with the other person, because the topic is games. The topic is the games industry. So this is, if anything else, the only place in the world where you can safely talk about games with basically anybody at the event. So you can go ahead and ask, so yeah, nice to meet you. What games do you like? Or if they're wearing a t-shirt from a specific game company or from a specific game, you can go ahead and ask them a specific question about the game or the company. If it's a game you know, then you can go into something more specific. For example, if they're wearing a Street Fighter t-shirt and you happen to know things about Street Fighter, you can say, oh, cool. What character do you play? Or which of the Street Fighter series is your favorite? Or what's your favorite move? And by talking to a gamer or a game industry person about games, you have the golden ticket to get them to talk and open up and be social with you. This is what we like. Even people who are shy and even people who are antisocial have interests, and it's those interests specifically you can talk about with anyone for hours. I've used this technique countless times, And even if it's somebody who doesn't look like somebody who would work in the games industry, maybe they're wearing a suit, maybe they don't have any sign about them that they play video games. If you get them to talk about their favorite video game, they become a completely different person. They open up and they're just so much fun to talk to. So after you're done with introductions, go ahead and ask them, what games do you like? And yes, if they say something about a game you do know, you can go ahead and talk about some deeper questions inside that game. If it's a game you don't know, then ask about it. If they say, I like Street Fighter, and you don't know anything about Street Fighter, then say, I don't know it. What kind of a game is it? And then they will explain to you everything about their favorite game, which they love talking about. And again, even if you have no idea what game they're talking about, just by asking questions about it and asking what is it like, what's the platform it's on, why do you like it, what's cool about it, then you have just as good a conversation as if you knew the game yourself. So super duper cheat golden question to ask in these situations. Next, when you're done talking about the game they like, you can ask them, what are you working on at the moment? So assuming they work in a game company and they have a role as a programmer or game designer, artist, sound person, marketing, QA, anything at all, you can ask them what they're working on at the moment. So that is completely natural to ask at this point, and they will give you some sort of information about their current project. Now, of course, due to NDAs and so on, it's not okay to talk about all of the details about their project, maybe not the title, maybe not the exact console and so on, but some general information is usually okay. So it's a fighting game for the PC, it's a racing game for PS5 or something generic like that. So once they say that, then you can start diving deeper into this topic, and this is where you actually check if there's a job opening available at that person's company. So you would say, wow, that's quite the project. How do you guys handle? And here you insert what you want to talk about. So if you're a game designer looking for a game design position, here is where you talk about game design. The same for art, the same for coding, the same for absolutely any discipline you happen to be in or you're interested in working in. So you say, how do you guys handle all the art that you need for the game? Oh my God, racing games, there's the engine sound and there's all this variation. How do you guys do the sound? So here they will share some few general information about how they are handling the topic you're asking about. And according to my knowledge, there exists no team in any game company at all that is not having some sort of problem, limitation, challenge, or difficulty at any given point in time. Game development is just a constant state of handling challenges and problems and providing solutions. So no matter what area you're interested in, there is always a challenge to be solved. So this is your third question in this framework. What is the biggest limit on the team right now? So I like this question because it's very open. It's not intrusive. It's not suggesting that they have a problem on the team. But something that's also true for game developers is that no matter what game they're working on and no matter how good it is, they always wish they could add more to that game, despite their own specialty. So if it's marketing, they would like to do more marketing. If it's art, they would like to have more art, better art, more beautiful art, more customizable. If it's coding, they would like to optimize the code more. They would like to add support for this and that device. There's always some sort of a limit that the team decides or is forced to accept for the development of the project. And that is where the opportunity lies for you. There, they will say something like, well, we don't have enough people to do something. So this can be an additional feature, fix additional bugs, support something else. They will say something along those lines. Or they will say, there's no one who knows this type of framework, this type of art style, this type of, I don't know, sound design technique or sound implementation. This is typically a skill limitation that the team has. So they have some people on the team for that task, for that domain, but the people lack a key skill that's needed for the game. Usually companies will have to outsource this task of the project to an external company, but if you were there to provide that skill for them, that is something definitely worth for them to look into. So another thing they might say is, well, we tried doing something, but things are not going well with this program we're using, this prototype we made, this implementation of this game engine or this plugin that we used and so on. Something in the current process of the company that is supposed to be working actually is not, or it's working with problems, and this is costing the team lots and lots of time. And if you know how game development works, it's always a race against time. So any time they spend on this is something that the team is keenly aware of and they want to fix. And this is your opportunity to say, well, actually, when I work on this, and this is how you present why you are a good fit to solve this problem. And of course, if what they're saying completely is outside of your expertise, that's completely fine. You can hear what they're saying and you can acknowledge it and move on and perhaps talk to another person or introduce to them your friend who is dealing with that domain. But if what they said resonates with you and it's something that you would like to work on, then you can say these exact words. Actually, when I work on this, and here is essentially how you would tackle that problem if you were there. You don't have to say it. You don't have to say if I was there or if I was working with this. You just say, oh, for example, you're trying to implement this plugin that is giving you trouble. Well, when I use it, I make sure that, and then you go through your checklist of what you make sure of. And the key point here is not to give them the perfect solution that's gonna fix their problem and they're gonna go back to the office and implement what you said and it's gonna work right away. If you can do that, that's cool. But the more important point here is that you display to them that you are someone who cares about what challenges the team is facing. You have an investigative mindset to ask them what's going wrong, to talk about the problem, to ask more information and so on. And then you have the motivation to provide a solution or at least offer a similar experience that might be useful to that person. Again, you don't have to get it right. There's no correct answer to give here. All you're trying to display is that you understand the situation and you have some sort of past experience with this, or that you would perhaps like to offer a solution. But this is really just a conversation. For the person listening, though, this is much more. After you have a few exchanges with that person for this topic, then they clearly know that you understand what you're talking about and that you are someone who might be able to help them with the thing they're dealing with at the moment. So usually it's difficult at this point to just hire you on the spot or outsource you to implement the solution for them. It's all these things are too big of a move for the company to make. However, what's not big at all is to have a casual meeting or a casual discussion with, insert the key decision maker here for that project or for team, to talk a little bit about it. Now, this is hugely valuable because normally you wouldn't ever get to have this opportunity to talk with a decision maker specifically about their problem. Moreover, somebody from their company is going to give you a personalized introduction about why you are a good fit and why you are the right person to perhaps fix their problem. Many people don't realize this, but when companies hire people, it usually happens through some sort of recruitment process. People send CVs or recruiters send candidates and game company HR departments have to review all these and say which ones they want to move forward to the interview process. That is a very faceless and dehumanized process. People don't like engaging in that process. What people like is the opposite of that situation, where somebody they know can introduce them to someone they think that would solve the problem effectively. So what you have created here in this environment is precisely that. You gave enough reason for the person who works in that company to get excited about you and to want to introduce you to the decision maker who can then talk to you about this issue. Now, your job here is to simply follow up until the meeting happens. And by meeting, I mean just a casual talk with the decision maker. So the decision maker would be, for example, the person you talk to, their boss or their manager, or in some situations, the person you're talking to is a decision maker. So you're already one step ahead of this whole process. You just need to make sure that this conversation happens. It can happen during the networking event, it can happen after it can happen the week later and so on. But your job is to make sure exactly when it would happen. So if the specific date is not easy to set at that moment, at least exchange emails or social media, and then talk about the next step specifically there and follow up until the meeting happens. And I've talked a lot about this, but you'll see hopefully in a moment why I'm stressing this point enough. That's because if you get that, that is the interview. So that casual meeting, that light chat, that quick talk you're going to have with that decision maker person about that team and that project is not just the interview. This is the VIP, S rank, golden, special, fast lane, whatever you want to call it, interview. Because, like we said before, you've been introduced to the decision maker by somebody they know. You were introduced because of your specific ability to solve the problem they're facing. So you're already several steps ahead from all the other candidates the company gets through CVs and so on. And you get to have a casual chat instead of an interview. That is another huge win, because if you think about how most interviews go, the interviewer asks you your background and your skills and what relevant experiences you have and so on, and then they say some standard things about how their company works, and that's it. Basically, the interview ends. And it's very canned, it's very standardized. There is no opportunity there to jump into the most important topic, which is how you can help them, and specifically, and how it would be a good idea for them to hire you. So by getting this special interview, you skip all of that jargon. You skip the introductions and you skip the standard questions about what are your past experiences and what companies you worked at. You skip all of that and you jump in directly to the point that the decision maker wants to talk about, their pain point, their challenge, and what you want to talk about as well, how you are good at solving this particular problem because of your experience and your skills and so on. So if this is not enough to convince you, I was asked to do a SEDEC talk specifically on this topic back in the day. SEDEC, if you're not familiar, is something like Japan's GDC event, so the main game developer conference of Japan. And I shared some stories where, by introducing people in this way, by saying I know someone who is very good at this thing that you're dealing with, they can help you, and having this light chat, this casual interview, that eliminated all need for a formal interview or the typical 5 interviews in a row that companies do and so on. This jumps straight to the point and displays what the company needs to know about you. Now, after that, there might still be a couple of interviews with the CEO or whatever necessary, But at that point, it's just checking that you are a normal, sane person, that you are good with working with others and so on. And the biggest question of the interview of can you solve their problem is already answered, and they're just finishing off the process. So if you get to that, congratulations, you have already gone ahead of 99%, seriously, of people looking for work in the games industry. And this is something you can use time and time again whenever you want to, either to find your first job in the games industry, or to find a better job, or if you're interested in freelancing work, to find multiple jobs at the same time. So if you know someone who is in this situation and they're looking for a specific way on how to network, if they're shy, if they don't like this kind of thing usually, please share it with them, and hopefully they can benefit from this. Until then, thank you for watching and have fun.